Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Capricorn for May 2015. Go to my website, aspiritualspark.com, where you can see more about my personal live coaching, as well as my 28-day virtual coaching program, both of which are available on a sliding scale, and both of which are intended to help you seamlessly move through the constantly moving planetary aspects with the most ease and grace and fun as possible. And while you're there, you can sign up for my free email newsletter where you become part of my community. So what's going on in May? We can't think about May without thinking about what has just happened. It's kind of like a wake, in the wake of a big boat moving through with all of these waves. May is sort of the wave that's more quiet towards the shore. Like they're bigger and then they get shorter and less forceful as it gets closer to the shore. And that is what's going on in May. May has its own challenges, but the eclipses really were really active, really emotional. Many people got some of the worst news of their lives. Many people got some of the best news of their lives, and sometimes on the same day, where the best news comes in and the worst news comes in. And the energy has taken until May to start to settle down into some sort of acceptance or some sort of routine with the new changes taken into consideration that have happened, so all this new energy got activated and worked up in March and April. And then by now in May, it's getting to be the time for starting to rest. So we start out the month right from the beginning with an aspect that shows us the theme of the month, which is Mercury opposing Saturn. So May 3rd, we have the planet Mercury in the sign of Gemini, which it rules, okay, and that rules movement and communication, mobility, transportation. It's a social and charming, sparkling sort of energy. I liken it in my email newsletter May write-up to the twins, these mischievous twins that are the symbol of Gemini. Their eyes sparkle and they have that grin that that they're acting up, that little impish kind of grin, and it's exciting and it's fun and it's moving and it's changeable. And that's going on. And then Saturn comes and opposes that energy and says, "What? Oh, no, you don't." That's what it says. It's like dad coming in and telling the twins, it is enough. And that is the energy of the month, where there's all of this potential movement spiraling around, a lot left over from the movement that just happened, kind of needing to settle down but having a hard time settling down. And these 6 opposing or squaring angles with Saturn and Neptune come in and really put a damper on this fun, sparkly movement. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not going to be plenty of movement and plenty of fun and things to do. Just got to use it the right way and know that some of the things you're trying to do might not be the things you're supposed to be doing, so you have to be flexible. Retrogrades show us that we have to be flexible. If there's any one thing that you can learn, especially from a Mercury retrograde, is that you can't force anything, and anything that seems like it just keeps coming against you, you might not be supposed to be focusing on that. That's definitely a theme for the month as well. So we start out with Mercury opposing Saturn. And that same day, we've got the full moon in Scorpio. So this is emotional. This is a full moon in a water sign, which is the most emotional of all the elements. So emotions, things come to a fullness, stressful things, exciting things, but then this opposing force, So you can imagine someone bringing a new idea to their boss, and their boss not only saying no, but being really rude and mean about it. That's the kind of energy that we're starting the month out with. Like you're just expressing and wanting to play, and then something comes in and says, "Oh, no, you don't." And it's got a very frowny face on it. So that's kind of the theme for the month. But there are so many ways that you can have fun. There are so many ways that you can use this energy. I always see, I'm always looking for the positive ways that we can frame these challenges, because when we see 6 oppositions and squares in a month and we say, we just came off of this craziness of the eclipses. It's like, when are we going to get a break? So in essence, this is our break. But the break is coming in the form of giving balance to all this spinning energy of Gemini. There are so many planets in Gemini. Mars or Mercury is rules Gemini, and so there's just extra Gemini. Mercury's going to go retrograde in the sign of Gemini, which is the sign it rules, so there's just like so much Gemini, which is spinning all over the place energy, and that can be debilitating, that can be unproductive. So these forces are coming in and hemming in the spiraling out of control, which means that you can use the energy in a better way. So many Capricorns are going to have this retrograde. Well, actually, all Capricorns, early, middle, and late degrees, are going to have some of this retrograde energy at least be in the 5th house. Now, even though for Capricorns, the Gemini energy is ruling the 6th house, it's still going to be in the 5th house for all of you. For you early degree placements of Capricorn, you're going to have some of the retrograde energy in the 6th house. And for you later degree Capricorns, you're going to have some of the retrograde energy in the 4th house. But all of you will have some of it in the 5th house. So we'll talk about that first, and then we'll add on the end some of the other possible implications. So May 18th is when Mercury goes retrograde. But May 4th is when the shadow period starts. June 11th is when it goes direct, and June 27th is when the end shadow period starts. So May 4th through May 18th or 19th, depending on what time zone you're in, is the Mercury shadow period. May 18th or 19th through June 11th is the Mercury retrograde, and then June 11th through the June 27th time is the post-retrograde shadow period. So this is the whole retrograde cycle. So during that time, there's going to be going back over things. So there'll be the standard things like watch your speed, watch yourself while you're on your vehicles and operating heavy machinery, back up your phones and other devices, run your virus software, be really careful of who you send what, that you're meticulous with your communications, get your car checked out, do maintenance, things like that on your devices and on your vehicles. But then there's specific things related to this 5th house. The 5th house is the house of children and creativity. Those are general headings, that there are a lot of specific things that go under that. So anything involving kids, you could be going back over things involving kids. One or more of your children might need more attention. Maybe something has been coming up and it has to be gone back over. This is a good time for research. If something is coming up, if a doctor has given you a diagnosis, I can't tell you how many times I have seen this with people that I know and with my clients, that they are seeing for themselves, but specifically on my mind right now is children getting diagnosis at an early age of autoimmune disorders. Don't just take the doctor's word for what's going on, please, because you have to educate yourself. Doctors are wanting to put kids on drugs, and some people, situations it's suitable. I'm not a doctor. There's a lot that's involved in that. Maybe it is the best way. But in many cases, if you educate yourself, there's likely something in their diet. Likely it's gluten, likely it's GMO foods, dairy, corn, things that are setting people's systems out of whack, and these kids can't handle it. And maybe you can't handle it. Maybe you're the one that has the health thing going on, because especially if you're an early degree Capricorn, because that retrograde is happening part in your 6th house, which rules your health. So this could be coming up for you and not for your kids, or for both of you. So look into these things, because Mercury retrograde is a fantastic time for researching something. So taking all the information in and then taking your findings back to cross-reference with the doctor. And it could also be you need a doctor that's more like-minded with you, So those are things that could come up. Something else involving children. Definitely going back over old creative projects that you have to literally blow dust off of. Be like, oh wow, I forgot about that, and bringing them to a further stage of evolution. Wonderful thing to do. So while this month is not great for launching brand new things, there's going to be a lot of places you get stopped at the pass where you're trying to do something and you can't. And instead of banging your head against the wall with those specific things, just say, oh, okay, I'm just going to hunker down. And really, it's different than a hunkering down. It's a nestling into your home, to yourself, or to some place that inspires you. going back over art projects, doing fun things with your family or kids, spending some time alone, resting. Resting is the key word. Regenerating, redoing, rewriting, writing projects, going back over things. It's not a good time to make major decisions, not a great time to sign contracts. This is the whole month through. So we've got a new moon in Taurus on May 17th or May 18th, depending on where you are. But right there, it's flanked with this Mars opposing Saturn. So in the beginning of the month, May 3rd, we have Mercury opposing Saturn. We talked about what that's like. Then we got the full moon in Scorpio that day. Then we have May 15th, Mars is opposing Saturn. And that's similar energy. Mars rules your physical body, moving yourself forward, productivity. And Saturn, again, stopped at the pass. Boom, 180 degree. Well, that looked like a 90 degree angle. Anyway, 180 degree angle. Dad comes and takes twins and grounds them and separates them. That's what it's like. You know, you're trying to do something and you're not able to do it. Then you've got that new moon in Taurus, but it's still got that kind of combative energy. Then right after the new moon, you've got Mercury going retrograde and things going haywire. So it's like, it's just a time to not make a bunch of plans, to go with the flow, to do fun artistic projects. I'm imagining you straightening your house or your home space, wherever you are, tidying things up, getting things organized. Maybe you're visiting relatives or family or friends. Maybe they're visiting you. And it's just kind of like a quiet time to have a good time where you don't really have any other agenda. That's really the word that I'm looking for. Is this is not a month to have an agenda of any kind. We just got out of that. The end of February, March, April, super time for agenda. Got to do this, got to do that, got to do that. Of course, the eclipses might have said, hey, you got to do something else instead. But at least that's the energy of moving forward. But this month, May, and the 6 months from May through October, when we're going to have Mercury retrograde, then Venus retrograde, then Mercury retrograde, it's a time to practice losing your agenda. What would happen if you just got up and saw what the day brought you? What if you ignored your list for a full day and just did whatever was fun or did whatever seemed to be flowing? A lot of times it's not going to be what you plan it to be. That's the magic of being in the moment, especially at this time. So at the end of the month, from around the 25th through the 31st, we've got 3 squares. Count them, 1, 2, 3, all in this short period of time. Mars, then Mercury, then the Sun squaring Neptune. Squares are challenging angles. Oppositions are challenging angles. So when you have Neptune involved, Neptune brings obscurity, fogginess, disillusionment, things seeming to be rosier than they are, but not quite. There are many positive aspects of Pisces and Neptune, many, many. But when you have an aspect in a square, which is a challenging angle, it's not most likely that those positive aspects are going to come out unless you do that purposely. That's another reason for art projects or creativity projects, because if you're just kind of in an abstract, formless way, using the confusion and not having details about things, you know, just relaxing and just being in a little fantasy world for a while, then it's going to be so much easier than you trying to use that energy more actively. So that's the theme, you know, that's the main theme for May. So once Mercury goes direct on June 11th and the shadow period passes June 27th, we've already started the Venus retrograde shadow period June 22nd. So there's no period of time where we're not either in the Mercury shadow period or the Venus shadow period. Venus goes retrograde at the end of July through the beginning of September. Venus retrograde shadow period ends at the end of September. So June, July, August, September are not the best times to do new things with your business. Not the best time to launch things. May through October is not the best time to launch things. So just don't do what you're not supposed to be doing and do what you're supposed to be doing. That's basically the theme of it. That's why we love astrology. I often talk about this idea of being on a deserted island and you make a boat and you're trying to set off to get out of the island and get back to civilization. So you wouldn't set your boat out when the tide is coming in. That would be silly. You wouldn't get off the shore. Or you'd have to paddle and barely get anywhere. What you want to do is you want to watch the tides every day, make a note of it with your little stick in the sand, keep track of when the tide's going to be going out, and then you launch out. That is what using astrology is all about. So if you're hearing a theme of rest, go backwards, regenerate, redo, rewrite, replay, all of this, then instead you're saying, well, no, I'm immune to this. Okay, that's not true. It's just not true. You're not immune to this. Nobody's immune to this. Now, you might be able to soften the experience. Yes, absolutely. You can do that through inner work and other things. But it makes more sense to launch your boat when the tide is going out. So in that way, it makes more sense to rest and not have an agenda in May. So I can't see what's going on in your personal chart. I'd like very much to. I'd love to help you navigate the movement of the stars and the potentials in your chart. You can go to my website, aspiritualspark.com, and see more about my personal live coaching. And you can see more about my 28-day virtual coaching program, both of which are available on a sliding scale. My virtual coaching program has a very low end of the sliding scale that makes it accessible for everyone. If you want to have some help clearing out old patterns and busting through that glass ceiling that has kept you in this certain matrix of experience and you're sick of it and you want to bust out of it, that is what the program will help you do. You can go to my website, aspiritualspark.com. You can become part of my email community. And I hope you have a wonderful May. I'll see you next month. Bye.